What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Filling in for Dano again today for the market update. I believe he is aiming to have his internet restored tomorrow, so hopefully he'll be back on his regular schedule. But for now, you're stuck with me, so let's get into it. All right. So first things first, we are looking at SPY here, and like I was saying yesterday, based off of yesterday's close near the high of the day, near the high of the local range, I was expecting, but also knowing that we have data, pretty major data, jobs data at the end of the week, I was expecting the potential for there to be a potential look above and fail, so a break to a new high, and then not see follow through because there's just a lot of uncertainty going on right now with the econ data this week, and then also, of course, we're like 34 days out or something like that from the election. So typically markets in election years will kind of be in a holding pattern going into November before a more meaningful reaction. So that we didn't get that. Obviously, we didn't get a higher high, but we are just continuing to balance within all of this local daily range, which is, again, it's still constructive as long as these buyers are holding over the prior all-time high of 565.16. And that's pretty much it. Even if sellers can get price back under 565.16, I still think it's pretty healthy consolidation as long as they can hold over this 819 to 830 structure. That's this guy over here. And the reason why I say that is because, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they were to backtest it, because so far, all of the backtests of this structure off of the point of control, like over here, and then again over here off of the prior all-time high, they were really shallow retracements. So typically you get more meaningful retracement to test these prior structures acting to see whether or not they're continuing to act as demand or not. Kind of like this, you usually get a deeper retracement into these zones. So I would not be surprised if these buyers or these sellers, were to press the issue a little bit more, crack this 575.16 level. If they do that, then it's really a matter of what happens at the point of control at 560.78. The best case scenario, if these sellers do get back under 565.16, would be to hold over this value area high at 562. Oh, that's right, Nike earnings today, 562.02. Hang on, let me just take a look at Nike real quick because I bought the dip. All right, pretty much no change. So that's pretty much it for SPY. So, again, we have econ data, jobs data on Thursday and Friday. And historically, September, October are choppier months. And then if there's going to be strength carried on into the end of the year, which is very common for both election years and also when you have the first half of the year when it's strong, very often your November and December are also strong. So we shall see. As of right now, this consolidation, despite the fact that sellers controlled the session today, is still healthy, again, as long as we're holding over 565.16. All right. So moving on to the Qs here. So the Qs also weakness today. Sellers control the entirety of the session. So it's a little bit different, right? So for SPY, we're just looking at the prior all-time high. As long as the prior all-time high remains supportive and these buyers are doing just fine. For the Qs, it's a little bit different. I'm looking at this key supply from July 5th to July 16th. Clear point of control, or rather value area low rejection over here. And now the value area high of this structure from August 15th to August 30th is what was supporting price today. So I would not be surprised to see further daily balance under this guy and over this guy. So that's really it. Again, the markets do not like uncertainty. So there's a good amount of uncertainty right now concerning the labor market, although Jerome Powell continues to assert that the labor market is okay. Obviously, these things can change, and he himself said during yesterday's conference that it'll be data dependent, right? The interviewer asked him, what's gonna happen in the November meeting, and he continued to say, well, it really depends on whatever the data looks like as we continue to go on towards the meeting. So that is that's pretty much it. So if we lower low tomorrow, eyes on the point of control at 474.40. If we continue to find acceptance over 482.90, that's the point of control of this structure, the 919 to 925 structure. Acceptance back over that point of control will increase the potential that we continue to look for balance, again, under this guy and over this guy. And that's all that I care about right now. Okay, so for IWM, daily lower high and lower low. So now that we have both tested the value area high and the point of control, now, it's pretty much in this local balance. You would have to say that both sides are kind of getting the job done, right? The sellers have been able to now crack the key point of control. The buyers have been able to crack the value area high. So it's really just a matter, it's pretty even, right? This local balance, who is in control is even. That being said, you call it for what it is. These buyers, they still have to give edge to the buyers, right? Because relative to this structure, right, they're still holding over the point of control of this structure here, which is at 217.38. Today was a drop and pop there, no acceptance under that point of control. And this is where we came from, right? So all of this consolidation is the sellers attempting to negate this move. And as of right now, they've only retraced about probably close to it, but probably around a third of it, pretty much right at the 328 retracement. So not even down to the 50 yet. So again, slight, you have to give the edge to the buyers in this case, and you're pretty much just looking for a weekly higher low with anything over 204.21 being good for one. And then of course, bigger picture, what we really care about is this guy, right? This guy over here, this structure was what made all of these lows throughout 2021. It's what made for these highs, right, in 2022, okay? And then in more recent price action, it made for this high over here, and then it made for this low over here. So, and you can see how reactive price is when we come and test this area, right? Even from the downside or from above, either way, it's very, very reactive. Even this gap up day pretty much was a move back under that point of control of that structure, no follow through, and then boom, it's off to the races. So that's pretty much it for IWM. If we lower low, then eyes on tomorrow. Then the next seller objective is 211.48, and it would be notable to lower low and then fail to get to the value area low. That would be a very notable failure on the seller's part. Moving on to Bitcoin. So nope, let me change charts here. So moving on to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, initially you had this extension all the way up to the 4-hour, testing the 61003.36 level. Like I was saying yesterday, this is a very reasonable location to be looking for buys off of the potential to hold this point of control. This point of control is from this structure over here, sitting at the prior all-time high. As long as these buyers are holding over the point of control of this prior all-time high structure, well then obviously this higher prices relative to the old all-time high structure are being affirmed. And so this is a super key test here, and you do have shorter term extension all the way up to the 4-hour. And so I think this is pretty reasonable to be looking for buys. Your stop can be no later, should be no later than under this structure, right? This area of local demand. If you fail to come down to this high over here, 60660, excuse me, and then pass back over this point of control, which is pretty much what's happening right now, it's reasonable to be buying this pass back over, throwing your stop onto the local low, looking to take profits over here at 62380.55. That's the low of this supply. More partials over here, and then for the rest, see if you can see a test of the key all-time high structure over here. So that's pretty much it. Even if you were to trade under 60660, if these things are all super extended and you crack under this guy, but you don't see follow through down to this value area low, you move back over it, reasonable to be looking for that buy, stop under the low, chop it up, and then for the rest, see what the market will give you. A notable initial bounce right above the level, and now it's testing it as we speak. So that is pretty much it. If you make a play here and it's a stop out, I think it would be reasonable down here as well, because I think, to get all these guys beaten up again, this is a very reasonable location as well. You can see how reactive it was over here, and then over here, and then over here. So that is pretty much it for Bitcoin. Okay, but just still in this forever balance holding pattern. I would not be surprised if Bitcoin just continues to stay in this holding pattern and is just kind of waiting for essentially like capital rotation into these higher risk assets, because as of right now, there's still a lot of attention in SPY, QQQ, these far more durable assets. And now the small caps have been seeing some rotation, so I wouldn't be surprised if if Bitcoin and crypto in general would kind of just stay in this holding pattern until IWM has to go at it as well, right? Because it's kind of just, capital, when markets rally and they're strong, you typically see the most durable assets, the most popular assets, they have their run first. Then riskier assets have a go at it as the capital from the SPY and the QQQ, the more durable assets, flows out of them, looking for rotation, chasing yield elsewhere. Then they'll typically flow into the small caps. And then after that, it's kind of like the next in line would be, crypto. So, or even higher risk assets, similar to crypto. So that is pretty much it. This key test right now happening right in front of our faces, 60660. Again, if there's no follow through under here, move back over the point of control. Because everything is really extended, I think it's pretty reasonable to be looking for buys, targeting this guy and then targeting this guy. All right. Moving on to gold. So I continue to maintain that this is where you want to look for value, right? Bottom fishing off of this demand zone is key. Just like bottom fishing off of this prior high for this low was a good play. Just like bottom fishing off of this high for these lows were good plays. You just really want to look for plays back testing prior areas of demand because the market already told you that it's meaningful, right? There must have been demand here because you create some value and then you break out. So there must have been more demand than supply here. And so for, low cost location, right, cheap location, it's looking for back test plays where buyers have recently broke out of because the sellers don't create meaningful change without acceptance back under the daily no change level of 2627.2. So daily higher low has now been set at 2646.2. Just all-time high resistance right now, 2708.7. And that's really, I personally would not be surprised to see, further bounce like this, further bounce like this, or just bounce like this, whatever. And that would still be constructive, again, as long as they're holding over this local demand zone. All right. If you wanted to be a bit more conservative, like assume more risk, but increase your potential for the trade working, you can extend it to this, right? And just play off of both of these structures because there's a lot more demand that was created over here. A lot more value was established here. You can see how much more volume was established here. So something like this would also be quite reasonable, looking for balance plays like this, basically looking for balance over this guy, right? So something like this, looking for a price that just kind of trades sideways like this. Very reasonable. Moving on to oil. So oil affirming both of these structures here, right? So the value area high of this guy, which has pretty much dictated price ever since 2022, making for multiple lows since 2021, really making for multiple lows. And then this supply making for multiple highs here and over here. There's no change without acceptance over the supply or under the demand. And so as of right now, these buyers are continually knocking away at the daily no change level, 71.46. The low of the day made pretty much right off of the value area high of the key demand zone. The high of the day pretty much right off of this daily no change level and the point of control of this more local structure, which was very reactive over here. All right, over here, over here, over here, over here, over here. So that is pretty much it. I'm actually kind of surprised that oil isn't stronger just based off of, the conflict seemingly spreading in the Middle East. But we'll see. That is really, I don't really care about price action trends because we're really just balancing here. So really all I care about is, will these buyers find acceptance over 71.63, or can the sellers find acceptance under 64.75, which really hasn't happened like in a long time. The most acceptance that the sellers have found under 64.75 was all the way back here in August of 2021, and it really wasn't that much acceptance. It's about 3 sessions under that level. So to start finding acceptance under 64.75 would be a very notable change. So that is it. I think we had a trade zone in here from the weekend videos. I guess not. And then finally for nat gas, no, I'm sorry, we had the dollar as well. So for nat gas, just grinding the value area high right now. Notable failure for the sellers as of right now to get back down to this 2.742 level. As long as you're holding over this 2.742 level, then this structure is being affirmed as demand. The daily is starting to get a bit hot, but no real sign of sellers right now. I would not be surprised if we were to higher high from here and get this daily even more extended. I would not be surprised to see an initial failure to find acceptance over this high and then to look for a further balance within this prior structure. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Daily retracement's underway. I don't really care about this rinky-dink daily high or low. I would say anything over 2.223 is going to be good for 1. That's it. Are we in the right list? That's fine. Okay, and so for the dollar, I continue to maintain this is the very reasonable trade zone for the dollar. Again, no change. It's very similar to oil. No change relative to all of this balance since 2022 without acceptance over this supply or under this demand zone. Both of these structures have held multiple times, right? With this demand zone holding over here, over here, over here, over here, over here. The supply zone holding over here, and over here. So these are very notable failures to not touch down on the point of control of the demand zone at 99.800. That being said, these buyers have not created meaningful change, negating this breakdown without acceptance over 101.965. So if you're a dollar buyer it can be looking to bottom fish off of this local range. Ideally, you'll have extension, right? Because you probably have 5-minute oversold at least over here, or ideally even hourly oversold. Let me see. Right, so hourly oversold near the lows of this local range are very reasonable times to be looking for buys. So here you have hourly oversold in the local range, hourly oversold throughout all this in the local range, hourly oversold in the local range, etc. So if you're a dollar buyer, this is the location, but you just want to wait for extension as well if you're looking for lower time frame plays, because then that would increase the potential that you'll get that relief bounce, which should be enough for you to position off of, take your risk out of the equation, throw your stop under the local low, and then see if they'll get back to the highs of the local range. And then from there, ideally, after you've taken your risk out of the equation, now you can hold your partial position for the potential that they get back to the daily no change level 101.965. Alrighty, so that is pretty much it. Yeah, so again, hopefully Dan will be back. Ideally tomorrow. He's optimistic that well, he was hoping for today, but that didn't shake out. But ideally tomorrow, and if not, then maybe just stuck with me for a little bit longer. But we shall see. Things are certainly looking better in Asheville, but it's probably going to take some time for the community to get back, on 2 feet. So that's pretty much it. Appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for sharing some of your time and energy with me. If you wouldn't mind hitting us with a like or subscribe, that would be very much appreciated. Costs you nothing, helps us out a lot. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you soon. Farewell.